So welcome. You can hear me well. So welcome to all participants. So I think we can start right away. I think we still have some people that are not completely connected on the sound. Yes, so one person more, I think, but is still not connected. Okay, so I'll start and hope the more people will join and that as people that cannot connect to the sound will find a solution. So thank you very much for being there. So this webinar is about CryptPad Enterprise, the encrypted workspace teams actually want to use. So I'm Ludovic Dubost. I'm the founder and CEO of XWiki SAS, which is a company that is building CryptPad for now 10 years. And we also have David Benke, who is the lead of the CryptPad team at XWiki.
Hello, everyone.
Thank you. And we will be also able to answer additional questions when we get in the QA section. So let's very quickly dive in. So I'll explain who I am, what is XWiki SAS as a company, why we are talking about CryptPad Enterprise, what use cases we're talking about, how you can use it, quick demo of the tool, and a Q&A section. So first, about me, I'm the CEO of XWiki. I created this company in 2004, but I've been working on internet technology since 95. Did all my career on internet technology. I started at Netscape. Some people might remember that company that created the web browser. And I worked on internet statistics for a while before creating XWiki. With my company, we really try to contribute to open source and create open source and do this as a living. And we prefer to spend most of our time actually creating open source more than talking about it. But we end up talking about it because we need to popularize it, sell what we do, so that we can actually fund that work. I'm also personally a member of different organizations in Europe that promote open source, Appel, CNLL, Euclidia Hub Open Source, and also a member of the boards of Open Food Facts, which is a food project, open data about food, and also I'm also have a little stake in the Marina project, which is a privacy conscious phone that is de-Googleized. And I encourage you to look at these projects. So XWiki SAS is a company that was created 20 years ago. It's self-funded. I have personally the majority ownership, but the rest of the ownership is with employees. So we're independent, and we have reached 6 million revenue in 2024. So it's mostly on the XWiki side, not on the CryptPad side. And we've been doing 50% growth, showing that open source technologies are continue to be more popular in our sector. We have actually 70 people in France, Romania, but also in Germany and even in Ireland. We built two softwares, so the XWiki software for knowledge sharing and CryptPad. I will talk about that. We're strongly engaged for digital sovereignty in the EU, but also for individuals. We believe that open source is important because it gives back control to the people when it comes about when we're talking about software. It's a Marina. or EOS. We provide services around our software, including hosting, and we hope, and our goal is to enable freedom of knowledge, and freedom of people with the control on their software. Here we're talking about CryptPad. CryptPad was launched in 2016 as a research project as part of for XWiki. We were trying to work on real-time editing, and as part of this project, we realized that we were able to synchronize real-time editing session without relying on the server as the relay and the organizer of the real-time session, so that the server didn't need to see the data to actually make the users synchronize their content. And this is a breakthrough because it actually means that you can actually encrypt the session between the users without the server seeing the data. And we saw this as a significant disruption compared to what usual real-time editing software do, such as Google, where technically the server kind of needs to do that and actually wants to do that for a lot of reasons we'll see after. And we realized we would be able to do end-to-end encryption, and we thought it would be interesting, and we decided to use this as a demo for our project and see if it would interest people to be able to use end-to-end encryption on documents. And as we saw that people found this interesting, we decided to continue to work on this project and try to find more funding for it in order to develop a full collaborative suite that does end-to-end encryption. And so initially we started with just text document, then we extended to other types of documents, to more features around the drive, and to Office documents. And we were happy to find additional funding, allowing us to continue this development and bring the software to a high level of features. So one of the fundings we received comes from Europe. NLNet has been a great funder through the NGI, Next Generation Internet Program. They funded more editors. They funded also Teams feature. They funded the Forms feature, allowing to do end-to-end encrypted surveys. And then we were able to get some other funding from BPI France and the French arm for innovation funding, and which allowed us to continue to fund work around Office editors. So CryptPad has a lot of references. So actually you can find 497 testimonials. We ran a survey at some point and asked people, can you give us a testimonial about your CryptPad usage? You can find these testimonials on cryptpad.org. But we also have some higher profile usage, especially that are privacy conscious. For example, organizations like Extinction Rebellion in the UK are using CryptPad. They have their own instance. And we also know some smaller groups that use our CryptPad FR service. You have the W3C tag group has their own instance. But actually, one of the biggest reference we feel we have is that actually Max Schrems, and for those that don't know Max Schrems, he is the one fighting the breaking of the GDPR law in Europe, and has its name under the Schrems 1 and Schrems 2 decisions, which broke the privacy shield between the Europe and US, and showed that there were privacy issues when there were data being transferred between Europe and the US. And his small organization is actually using CryptPad, and we're very proud of this, as we feel it legitimizes the protection that we add to our software. We also have organizations in Germany that promote privacy, like Digital Courage, that also use CryptPad. There are many more. There are 1 million pads per month that are opened on CryptPad FR, the flagship instance that we're running. That means more than 100,000 users in a month, and we have more than 8,000 subscriptions per month on CryptPad FR. And so we're very proud of that. So now the question is, why are we doing this? Why is CryptPad needed? Well, the big reason is that in general, data is mishandled on the internet. So you have actually two aspects to this mishandling. One is privacy, the other one is security. So privacy and security are very close to each other, but they're slightly different. And so one question that one might ask, either as an individual or as a company, is what's going on with my data when I'm using Microsoft and Google? And actually, not many are able to answer that question. It's very difficult to answer that question. You have to read first to very lengthy document that kind of give quite a lot of rights to Microsoft and Google's on your data, and that are very difficult to read and to understand. And the reality is that they have your data. So the data is unencrypted. And so practically they have your data. And encryption is heavily underused. So encryption today is used to transmit data over the internet, but when it arrives at the server, the data is most of the time unencrypted. And data is not protected using encryption. Our feeling is that, and what this is something we showed with CryptPad, is that it's actually possible to build advanced features on top of encryption. But all the big providers and many big providers on the internet don't do that. And another aspect is that we believe that software which handles data and sensitive data in addition should be fully transparent. And we believe that this is why open source is actually key, is that we need to know what's in the software. Today, it's impossible to know both what's in the software on the Microsoft or Google servers or any other big company. And it's also not so easy to know what's in the software that is going to run on our client, on our browser. It's a bit more possible because we receive the software, we receive the code, so it can be looked at, but what's running on the server, there is no way we can know because it's all mostly private. And so CryptPad is an end-to-end encrypted open source productivity and collaboration office suite that has the objective of providing similar features to what you can get from Microsoft and Google on editing and working on documents, but which protects your data with advanced encryption. So not that we just behave better than Microsoft and Google, we make it much more impossible for us to behave badly. That's a really important thing. So some key advantages of the CryptPad software is privacy by design. Everything on CryptPad is built on encryption. It's secure and GDPR compliant, and our hosting is in the EU, in France in particular. But with CryptPad, you actually need to trust much less the compliance of companies with the GDPR, because you don't have the providers don't have the data. So how can they actually leak data that they cannot even read themselves? Another aspect, so that's more a feature of what we decide to do on CryptPad, is that we have no tracking, no client-side tracking, no advertisement tracking in our systems. And so you don't need the ad blockers or things like that when you run CryptPad, because we don't use any of these, because we don't want to track people. The software is supposed to have value in itself, and that's what is important. So it's a full feature productivity and collaborative office suite with real-time editing. And actually many of our users don't even know we're having these advanced encryption systems, and they heard about CryptPad because they like it and because it's easy to use. And that's actually a very important aspect of CryptPad, is that we want this solution to be accessible. We believe that encryption should not be difficult to use, and that usually encryption was creating a complexity. Like if we look at PGP, where you want to, for example, encrypt your email, you need to do extra steps to encrypt your email. And that's complicated for users. They don't understand exactly what we're doing. And what we want in CryptPad is that the encryption system is transparent to the users. And actually, if you test CryptPad and you use it, you will find the same type of buttons for sharing that don't specifically talk to you about encryption. They should be simple to use, and the encryption should be transparent to the users, protecting its data. Another aspect is that CryptPad has freedom of deployment and no vendor locking. CryptPad is open source, like we do at XWiki for 20 years, and we don't want to have vendor locking. And it's free to use. However, it's important to understand that the fact that software is never completely free, and the fact that people can use it for free doesn't mean they shouldn't contribute to it or that they shouldn't support it, which is why we also have subscriptions, support contracts, hosting contracts, and also donations, which allows users to support us. But we want them to support us because they believe in what we do. And we understand that some people don't have the financial means to support it, that it's difficult for them, and we still want them to be able to use our service because we believe it's an important service, which is why we have free service also on CryptPad FR. So you can use CryptPad for free to a certain extent on our flagship instance. You can also use it from other instances and people hosting it. And we are perfectly fine with it. We believe that it spreads the usage of better software that protects better. It's also good for the future of CryptPad, that it's going to make CryptPad more known. But it's also important to understand that we need funding, and that the more clients we have, the more we'll be able to improve the software. And so we also provide long-term professional support and no technical hassles to help any enterprises or organization that would want to use CryptPad. So one thing is, how is the security of CryptPad different from other software? Because a lot of people talk about security. Like if you go to any software in the world, it's going to be secure. Everybody says that their software is secure. But actually, in most of the cases, when they say secure, they actually mean that they've put passwords on the software so that when you access the data, there is a need for a password, or that you can trust them for making sure that that people will not try to steal the data, because they took some security measures to protect the data. But what about the actual technologies that are protecting the data? And when it comes to encryption, there are very different types of encryption. So you also have a lot of providers that tell you, we use encryption to protect the data. But in many cases, they use the same type of encryption that everybody uses, that is, for example, encryption in transit. So what is encryption in transit? Encryption in transit is when you encrypting the data between the computer to the unencrypted disk on the server of the provider. And what's important there is that the data is unencrypted on the server, which means that an administrator of that server can read the data. Then you have an additional encryption scheme, which is called encryption at rest. That actually means that you're using a key to encrypt the data on the server. However, that key is stored next to the server, and the administrator has potentially access to that key. That means that if he wants to read the data, he can. And if he actually wants to administrate the server, usually he needs to unencrypt the data so that he can see what is going on the server. And then he would be able to read the data. That means that if you enter the server through hacking from the front end of the server, you could actually also get to the unencrypted files. And what is end-to-end encryption in CryptPad? That is actually, you're adding on top of the encryption in transit, you actually add end-to-end encryption. And end-to-end encryption means that the key is only available to you on your computer. It encrypts the data before the data goes into to the server. It arrives in the server. It is stored still encrypted, and the administrator cannot read your files because it doesn't have the key. And that's a major difference. And so the key point to ask actually about when you're talking about end-to-end encryption is it possible? Is there a way for administrator to read the data? And when you push that question to some providers, beyond the marketing that they do about how well protected it is, they will have to say that, yeah, potentially they can read the data. Actually, this is repeated. So some key functionalities of CryptPad is that we have a CryptPad drive with 10 types of documents. So CryptPad is not a low-featured product. It has a lot of features, lots of different types of documents, lots of editors for these documents that we have built in. So we reused open source for that. And we wouldn't have been able to do all that work without a lot of other open source projects. That's very important. But we also built some of them ourselves because we didn't find the right software that would allow to build the end-to-end encryption in it. We also have a lot of collaboration and productivity features. You can do real-time editing on all pads, so it's highly collaborative. You can do commenting on documents, you can have contacts, and you can do sharing securely, and you get shared folders to share actually a whole folder with other users. There are also features that are specifically interesting for enterprises, which might not be visible right away when you look at CryptPad on one of our flagship instances or open instances. So you have multi-factor authentication. This is available on CryptPad FR, which adds some additional security to your accounts. That means that even though, in addition to the data being encrypted, the server will not give it to somebody that doesn't have the second factor authentication. So that sends a code available from its phone, for example. So this is not a feature that is protecting from the cloud provider because we could turn it off. The person managing the server can turn off multi-factor authentication, but it adds protection in case somebody tries to guess your password and tries to connect to your account from another computer. They would also need to have this second factor authentication in order to gain access to your account. We also have a single sign-on feature, so companies can connect CryptPad to their own authentication system so that only people that have an account on the single sign-on service could get into the CryptPad server. You have team drives, which allows to do groups. You have group calendars, and you also have forms to run surveys, which is something that is interesting in an enterprise context, either both internally and externally. So that's a set of features that CryptPad has. And we also more recently have built a new Office Editor API, which would allow integration of CryptPad with other tools that do end-to-end encryption or tools that don't do end-to-end encryption. So if you have companies and you're interested in editing of documents and you think CryptPad can add additional feature to other software that store data, we can potentially connect CryptPad to these other software. So you can contact us to talk about this. So what are the use cases for using CryptPad? So first, organization or departments that handle sensitive data across teams and time zone. If you require strict compliance and you value privacy-first collaboration, then CryptPad Enterprise and your own CryptPad server or CryptPad Cloud could be a solution to fit your need. So here we're talking more about the enterprise usage. CryptPad is, of course, also very interesting for individual users. This is something that would be used on our CryptPad FR instance. But here in our use cases, I'm looking at the use cases of enterprises. So you have legal, compliance, financial sectors. It's actually surprising that lawyers or HR departments are sharing information very much by email when it would be so much better to share sensitive documents over an end-to-end encrypted platform and connect with our users to create that channel with them. For example, at XWiki, we now send we now send contracts through CryptPad when we hire new employees. You have a use case of enterprise that's prioritizing security, departments handling very sensitive data. You have the education sector, because when you, for example, as teachers, you're giving documents or sending documents to your kids or wanting them to work on documents together, you need to also protect them, protect their own privacy. Like when you are you cannot send to kids documents from Google or Microsoft, which they didn't make the choice to use. They will necessarily click. They won't make the choice not to use it if as a teacher you're sending that data, and this is a choice that people didn't do. And so it's important to not provide them with software that could track them. NGOs, activists, and journalists are managing sensitive data, and it's very interesting for them to have a tool that very well protects their data. Remote teams and distributed workforce working across company or cross-company projects. If you're working between two companies, you never know where to put the data. Should the data be stored in company A or company B? And if you're putting the data somewhere in the middle, what protection do you have for that data? And this is where CryptPad can provide a better protection of the data if you're sharing data between your company and some other companies, and that's very, very interesting. So how can you actually use CryptPad? So you can you can actually go and create an account as an individual user on CryptPad FR. That's quite useful to extranet usage. So if you're in a company and you want to share data with external people, CryptPad FR is a very nice place to do it. But then you can also decide to have your own instance. So you could have your own instance to communicate with other companies. You could have your own instance to work on your own data internally. And this is where we have CryptPad Cloud. If you go to try.cryptpad.org, you can actually create a test instance for 10 days and then test running your full CryptPad instance just for you and your users. And then you become an administrator of a CryptPad instance in the same way that you would install that instance on your own computer. And your data is protected because all the data is encrypted on the server. We, the hoster of that data, we cannot see what is going on. And we cannot take control of your instance and of your users. So even if we took control as an administrator of the instance, we wouldn't be able to take control of your data. And you can install it on premise, so you can use Docker or NPM to make your own installation. CryptPad installs quite easily, but you have a few settings for the web server to have a perfectly secure instance, and you can work with us and take support contracts if you want us to help you to set up your own instance in your own environment. So let's go now with a demo of CryptPad. So let me get my Windows ready. Up. And so I'm going to share my screen. Okay, are you all good? You can see the screen. So as you can see, I'm here on a document of CryptPad. Actually, if I start with CryptPad, I will start like that. So this is the homepage of CryptPad, but actually even up. 1 second, I need an additional window. Oops, not that one. Up. I need a private window up. And I want to log out here. So here I'm starting as a user on CryptPad FR, and what I can do is I can actually create a document. So it's very easy to to create a document from scratch. And here I have an end-to-end encrypted document. So here I can modify the title of my document, and I can start typing, hello, this is my document. If I take a link of that document, I can share that link over a secure channel. So I need to share it over a secure channel to somebody else. So that means, for example, I can use an end-to-end encrypted messaging tool such as Signal or Matrix and share that link to somebody else. If I'm a bit scared about the fact that my link might not be shared through a secure channel, I can actually create a password on that link. So for example, no, actually, no, I cannot do that. I need to say access. Okay, up. Sorry. Here, I know. So I'm wrong. David, I need your help. I'm missing the password feature here. I should have created at the beginning.
No, you need to go to access. Oh, you created without ownership?
Maybe that's what happened. Or I created it from CryptPad index. This is I created it from here with no connection.
Yes, you're not logged in. You're not
okay, so the password feature is not available if you don't have an account. So I'm sorry for that. So I'll get back to the creating an account for showing that feature. But so I can share that link with another user. So for example, if I share this here, and I go to my other browser that I have here. So if I send this link through another channel, I can open that link here, and I will connect to the same document. And here I can start typing, hello, this is a second user on my document. And when I'm typing, the changes to the document are encrypted using the key that is in this string here. And on the server, it's impossible to actually read the data. But here, so I can type hello, another text. I can also make some comments. So here I can say, this is not very interesting. You should have better ideas. So you can do that, and I can actually see the comment here, and I can actually respond to it. This is true, and you can continue and show some comments about the data on this document. You can also insert some images only if you have an account. So here, actually, I have an account. I'm connected to an account. So this is a second user which is connected. So I have a profile, I have a user profile, and I can actually insert an image. And I actually already have images in my drive, which I uploaded before, and I can put an image in my document. And I can do sharing of my document, and I can also go to access, but I'm not the owner of the document. So I'll go back to a document that I actually own. So if you let me go maybe very quickly to the creation of an account. So if I want to create an account here, I created a document. So I could have created any type of document here. I can create a Kanban, a Word file, etc. But I can also subscribe. So for example, here I can say I'm Ludovic 2025, and I can choose a website, a password, which I'm not going to reveal to you. So both the username that is chosen here and the password will actually never leave your computer. So we're not transmitting the password to the server. We're creating an encryption key with it. And so here, this is why you will have a message. So I'm sorry, this is in French because I chose the French version because of my browser. It's a message that says you absolutely need to be careful of not losing your password. So here I can go and register, and now I've registered to this account, and I'm actually reloading the pad as a user, Ludovic 2025. And actually, now that I did that, I can put myself in contact with this other user that I shared the document with. So here I made a sharing request with this other user. I can also reload the drive. Actually, I think if I reload this, yes, I can now store my document in my drive here, up, and I will see my document show up in my drive. So here I now have, because I'm a registered user, I have a drive, and all my documents are stored. All the documents that I create are stored in the drive. Now I can go back to this other user, which is also connected to the pad. And oh, actually, what did I do? I have a request. I can also see the request of Ludovic 2025, which asked to be a contact of me, and now I can accept being a contact. And now we're in contact. And what's interesting is that since we are in contact, it's possible now to share the link and share the access to this document through CryptPad. So I don't have any more to send my link through another secure channel, because we've created a channel through CryptPad to connect to each other. And so I'm able to do this sharing now directly here in the document. Here, this is what I have. So now I want to show a bit more features. So in the drive, you have a lot of possibilities. So for example, we have folders, so we can organize the file in folders. We can see the recent document, the most recent document that we have in our drive. We can see PDF documents. So for example, this PDF presentation is available, is encrypted in the drive. But we also have shared folders. So this is actually a folder that you can share with other people. So I can actually decide to share that folders with Ludovic 2025. And the other user will be able to accept that folder and gain access to all the documents in that folder automatically. And each of these documents has encryption keys. So by sharing the folders, we transmitted the encryption keys to the documents. We can also put links in the drive. So for example, here I can have a link to a website, so that can help sharing some information with our users and remember some things. So I can have an image here, a logo, but then I can have different types of pads. So we saw a document pad, what we call a rich text pad, where you can put HTML text, bold, with bold titles, etc., and images. But you can also have some other types of documents. For example, you can have spreadsheets. So spreadsheet is a very important type of documents that people have. So for example, you can see here a sample spreadsheet, which is a document that we created at XWiki on our internal seminar. And so that's a valid Excel file. You can actually even export it to Excel. So I can do export XLSX, and I can do an XLSX export. And here you can see I have an XLSX file, and actually I can open with it with LibreOffice on my own computer. So it's really an Excel compatible file. I can also, so here is another Excel file, and we can make some charts with this data. So I can actually do this. Let's take the top 15, and we can say insert charts, and we can see who has the most gold, silver medals. So we have a significant amount of Excel functionalities here in the thing, and all is real time. That means that I can open that. I can actually share that document with my Ludovic 2025 user, and I can open this here. I think here. Let's see, is that the correct user? Yeah, he shared me the Tokyo Olympic data, and I can open the Tokyo Olympic data. And so, for example, if I change here 59, I can see see what's going on here. I need to save the data here because I was not in pure real-time session, but we have actually two settings, rapid and strict. So actually now I can do 65 and it's going to update right away on the other side. So you have two modes, which this is actually going to change. I think we're going to be much more by default on the rapid mode automatically, so that you get the changes right away going through. So that's an Excel file, but we also have presentations. So actually, this presentation that I run before, I can open it in CryptPad, and it's possible to make changes to it. So I mentioned that we were not 65 but 70 people, and actually I could have played the presentation directly from here, and now I can show a presentation live on my computer, and I can also export it to PDF directly from here. I can do a PDF export of that presentation. And here is my PDF presentation. So that's presentations. As you can see, so we have also whiteboards. So you can do a bit of drawing, and that's also collaborative. Not going to spend too much time on this, but that's actually quite useful in the education sector. If you want to, it's more like a whiteboard. And for teaching, it's quite useful, and this can work pretty well. You have diagrams. For example, this the image that I showed on my in my presentation has been done with CryptPad using the diagram feature, and it's also real time. You can do Kanbans. So for example, this is a CryptPad public roadmap about what we are working on at CryptPad. And you can, okay, so if you absolutely want a feature, I've noticed that some people absolutely want mobile improvements. I don't know if we have mobile improvements. I think we mentioned it, but yeah, we can add mobile improvements here. And David is going to hate me, but we could make it and advance it on the roadmap because people want it a lot. Unfortunately, we'll get to that in the question. This is not something that's currently possible to do because we have other engagements, but this mobile is something that we believe is very important and we should improve. I'm going to mention that in the answers to the questions. We also have, I think I went through, so one important feature is actually surveys. So for example, here I have a survey, which is a simple survey for a meeting. So like a doodle. So I can actually create this and I can actually go answer that doodle. So here I can say, Please answer when I'm available. So it's a survey. So the way we did it to create it is that we actually have a template for that type of survey. And so I can create a form, and I can say I want a form. Actually, by the way, I forgot to switch in English. It makes a lot of sense to switch in English. So let me switch in English here. And this way, yeah, now I have a quick scheduling poll, and I can create a quick scheduling poll, and I can create my my poll here. Here is our, when can we do the next webinar? And I can actually edit the periods there and decide what they should be. And that's it. Preview, and then if I want to show this, I can show that that poll. But the tool is actually able to be a more complete survey tool. So to give you an example here, let me go back to the drive. We can do some more advanced feature. For example, we did a user survey at the end of 2024. So this is a more advanced survey. It even has conditional sections in order to do advanced survey. And what is really powerful with the CryptPad forms is that it's very, very respectful of other users participating to the survey, because you're not forcing them to send data that will be at risk, because it's encrypted data and you're the only one to receive that data. The server cannot leak your data given there is end-to-end encryption. For example, you can see, I'm not going to show the detailed responses, but just some votes. So you can get some charts that show you the number of responses, and you can see the number of people that answered this. For example, people told us that they use CryptPad multiple times a month, and you can even see individual answers, but I won't show them here for privacy reasons. So that's about it when it comes to standard features. There are a bit more features. For example, you have calendars. So here I have a calendar, and I can create calendar entries. So it looks very much like a test calendar entry, and I get a calendar entry. I can even move that calendar entry, and I can create multiple calendars, and I can share calendars with other people. So we can have a shared calendars with other users, and we will see the events of the other people. So this is a very strong in group calendar. So we have some limitations here, because our group calendar system and calendar system doesn't send emails. So this means that you cannot invite people by email, and which is a bit problematic for us, because it would mean that the events would not be encrypted if they go by email to other users. But you can share calendars with other CryptPad users. We are still thinking about ways to connect the calendars to non-CryptPad users, because that's important to make the calendar feature fully usable for everybody. But there is still some work in this area. And then we have, so you have your list of contacts. So the people you've been in contact with, I can see that I'm in contact with Ludovic 25. And to finish, the last feature is that there are teams. So I can create teams, and teams allow to have a group drive. So actually, let me not show this on this session, but show this on this session. If I go to this session of teams, oh no, I don't have teams either here, but I can create a test team, and so I'm going to create a space specifically for a group of people. So here I can go to member, and here I can invite people. So I can invite the CryptPad demo user. On the other side, my user can accept the invitation. Here, I accept the invitation to the team, and I can actually upgrade that user and say he's going to be a member of the team. And here, we'll both have a shared drive. So here, and this is a separate drive. So if I create now a text document in this drive, it will show up in the team of the other users. And so this allows to create other drives that are shared across users. And what's interesting with that feature is that if then you have a document, for example, if I go to this document here, I can actually decide to share that drive with the team. So I can actually share the document with the team instead of sharing it only with specific users by listing all the users. And so I can have I can share my document in the team now, and it will be available to the other team. So that's about it on the features of CryptPad. As you can see, it's quite powerful. You can see who's connected. You can also see some chats on each document. So quite a lot of features that are possible. And so maybe now we're going to look at some questions. So let me try to take the list of questions. So let me go back to the slides, not share. Go back to Q&A up here. And so looking at the questions. So the first question that we have today for this webinar is, are there any plans to make CryptPad more smartphone friendly? If so, when? Thank you in advance. So the first good news that we have is that, so the answer is yes, there are plans to make CryptPad more smartphone friendly, but the work is, it's a long journey. And the first good news is that actually we released yesterday a new version of CryptPad. It will be tagged in the coming week or so, and we're going to explain all the improvements that have been done. We've made serious performance improvements on mobile, especially for large drive users. So if people have a significant amount of document in their drive, it was taking time to load that drive on your mobile before you could open documents. And in most cases, people didn't really want to open their drive. They wanted to open a link or a document or a particular document that is in their recent folders. And so we've made a significant improvement in CryptPad to actually load only what we needed. So this is actually also benefiting desktop users. So it's basically loading on demand. So we're not loading automatically everything right away. We're showing your drive faster. And so if you open a link and there is already the key in the link, then we don't need your drive. We're going to open the document first. And you're going to be able to read the document right away. So that's the first improvements that we have done. But it's not the only one. And as was mentioned by, as was brought with David here, you have a link, and where you can see a lot of improvements that we're working on, because we're doing regular improvements. So whenever we have proper tickets about some things that don't work on mobile, we do consider some of them at each roadmap. So for example, in this roadmap, we've improved drag and drop of Kanban items on a mobile phone, so that you can actually drag and drop them with your finger. Is that correct, David? I just want to make sure.
No, actually, yeah, just to clarify, this is actually removing drag and drop, because we had many feedback that it's not easy to drag and drop on a small touch screen. So there is now an option to use buttons to move cards and also questions and forms without dragging, only with the arrows buttons. So you can still move and manage your Kanban on a touch screen.
Yeah, so yeah, because drag and drop is very difficult to manage on your phone, and it's better to actually click to move your.
Especially in Kanban, because in Kanban you also want to scroll with your fingers, so it was very complicated to scroll and drag. It didn't really work. So
Yeah.
yes, but we posted the link to this GitHub project where we track all the issues, and yeah, as Ludo said, we do mobile improvements at each release. So we try to improve things little by little.
Yeah, and on the final say on this is that, I mean, there, for example, the performance improvement, they took time because we needed to do a lot of refactoring to be able to do this improvements of performance. So for users that are really wanting better things on mobile, it is very helpful to provide a precise ticket about the problem that you have. If you're showing us a screenshot with an example document, it's going to help us to see what could be done better. So do not hesitate to bring tickets on the CryptPad project and give us screenshots of things that don't work as well as they should. We can't promise that we're going to handle them, but if we see that we have the solution, then we're going to put this in the roadmap. Now, more generally, we're also trying to get some specific funding that would get us better on mobile. I cannot tell too much about this, but we're going to try to get extra funding specifically for improving in the mobile world. And we hope that by the end of the year, it's not for now, right now, we hope that we can announce some good news in this area. But it's a lot of work, but we know that the CryptPad needs to be better in our work. Let's get back to the questions. So another question was, to move, for example, Google for business accounts, we need more calendar, task, group tasks, email server, maybe external like Migado, but must be functionally integrated. Any plans for a complete suite? So we do understand that that people want a complete solution. Now, the first thing is that there are already alternatives for emails, for example. So we're not sure we want to go in the email business because it's a lot of work to do all these features. We already have a lot of pads in CryptPad. So there are other email solutions such as Tutanota or Proton Mail, and it's difficult for us to go in this specific business. Now for calendar, you've seen that we've done group calendars. For tasks, we have Kanbans from our point of view. So we think that Kanban is an interesting way to do tasks. Going much further in the project management area is a bit difficult for us because it's also a lot of work versus our funding, and we hope that's going to be okay. I'm a bit lost with the question list.
We are moving, it's currently number 2. We are moving to migado.com for emails and calendar for Google. With CryptPad, we would have an Office alternative on size-limited drive. How about group chat and video conferences?
Yes, so group chat and video conferences, we also believe that this is not our area. There are already solutions that do end-to-end encryption now with group chat, with group chat and video conferences. And for example, one that we would recommend is Matrix Element. Matrix has end-to-end encrypted messaging, and there is now Element Call, which supports end-to-end encryption in video calls. So we would recommend Matrix. We don't think that it should be the role of CryptPad to do that. We're much more interested in looking at how we can integrate between the solution. This is why we also built the CryptPad API. We believe it's possible to do some API, some connections between tools like Proton Docs and CryptPad. And so there are possibilities there. So if there are files in one system, then the editing tools of CryptPad could be used. And for Element, it's also possible to do some integration, but they're not so easy to do. So because in the UI of a chat, it's not so simple to do editing at the same time. So this is something we're looking at, but it's not so simple to find the right choices in this area. How do I do a complete backup of all data in the CryptPad as a users? There is an option in your preferences to do a backup of the content of your drive. One issue is we call it beta because if your drive is very big, it can be a bit cumbersome and not easy. Like it could be long and not easy. So we're aware that this is not ideal, but due to the end-to-end encryption system, it's not so simple to do a Delta based backup. So first, I want to say that CryptPad FR has extensive backups. We have 1 year of backups. They're all stored every day. So we have deltas by day and a full backup every month. So CryptPad FR has very strong backups for our users to protect the data, but we definitely understand that it makes a lot of sense for users to do their own backups. For this, we also believe that the work we recently did for the performance, which has allowed to modularize the code of CryptPad, should allow us to also build some command line backup systems that are outside the browser, and they could be more performant, and potentially it could be possible to build deltas there. So this is something that we'll look into in the future, but we are a bit lacking some funding in this area. So we'll see what we can do, but it is indeed something that could be done. Is an interesting need. Would data be turned over in an event of a warrant if the company were to sell? How secure our data would be? So that's two different questions, actually. So let's start with a simpler one. Data be turned off in the event of the warrant. So, I mean, by law, if the police is asking, especially the French police, because we're hosted in France, is wanting our data, we would have to give the data. However, this data would be end-to-end encrypted. So we would not be able to give actually data to users that would be readable. Then there are questions about would they ask for IP addresses and things, and in this area, some IP addresses could be turned over and connected to the data that is in the system, but the data is all end-to-end encrypted. However, one of the things that is important for us is that we don't want CryptPad to be used for illegal activities, and we don't want to be the police ourselves deciding what is illegal and not illegal. CryptPad is open source. If you have activists and they feel that they have risks with the police, and then they can also host their own instances. And for us, it's very difficult. All this area, we are subject to the French law, and very recently there has been a risk in France that they might have asked for backdoors in encrypted software. This was more for chat software. Fortunately, this law didn't pass, so there are no backdoors in end-to-end encrypted chat systems and in CryptPad, and we're not required to have any in our software. And so the data is end-to-end encrypted. So unless this data is the links are published on the internet, the data cannot be leaked. About the other question, if the company were to sell, how secure would our data be? So first, XWiki SAS is a very safe company, and I'm a CEO that I believe respects people, and we have 1 year backups, and I would never sell the company without being able to give the data to people. and where we have measures also inside the company to secure the data. The backups are outside of our hoster. So if our hoster locks us out from our data, or let's say if there was a warrant seizing all our servers, then we would still have the backup data, and we would be able to restore the service or give it to somebody else to restore the service. So at this point, we believe that the data is extremely safe. We have even a replicate server. So if a server goes down with all the data of CryptPad, we have the data from the day before that is ready on the second server. So we're able to restore the service on a new server without having to restore from backup. How to revoke access. So far, I have the impression that knowing URLs document is what you give access to it. How to keep things secure when somebody leaves a team, especially when this happens on bad terms. So yeah, that's a complex problem. So teams kind of solve this. So if you have a team, you can actually revoke access to the drive of the team. It's more complex if people have the documents in their own drive. So if they copied the URLs in their own drive, it's a bit more complex to massively make sure that they cannot access the data. So there is a feature that increases security in CryptPad, which is called access, and you can actually ask the server to verify if people should access the document or not. So this is not based on encryption. This is based on the server accepting or not to serve the data to the user. But at this point, you have to do this document by document. So this is not extremely practical for extra security, but at least you can do this on very, very sensitive documents. And there are questions if we should potentially modify the way the whole sharing works so that it can be revoked more easily. But it's not so simple to do. So basically, it's not necessarily easy to do through encryption. This is easier to do through the server revoking the access. So we could connect the sharing and share at the same time, sharing the key at the same time that you add the accesses. But if you do this, you lose a feature that a lot of our users like a lot, which is link sharing. So you can share with people that don't have accounts. If you want to combine link sharing with access that would be verified by the server, then you need to you cannot do link sharing anymore on that document. So this is something that we'll think about for the future, but we can't improve that for now.
We have a prototype for this. Sorry to interrupt, but we actually prototyped this. So you're right that at the moment the keys are in the URL, and once someone has this, we cannot take it back. So you cannot revoke the link. But we did prototype something. I put a link in the chat and in the notes to Blueprints, which is our R&D website, where we did prototype revocable links. This is at the early prototype stage though, so it's not on our current roadmap, but it's on our medium to long term things that we want to include in the products.
Yeah. In a European Union and French legal framework that are becoming more and more privacy threatening, with phone communication and chats being routinely spied in, cutting a bit the question, are you as CryptPad considering moving your servers to less totalitarian environment like Switzerland or Iceland? Well, I won't comment on the totalitarian aspect of the French and European Union. It's complex for us to have hosting in many countries. So we wouldn't necessarily move our server. We could have the possibility to have multiple servers, and then people can choose. We also encourage people that are not necessarily happy with the CryptPad FR hosting, that there are other instances in different countries that they can use. We have asked in our survey if people would be interested in instances in different countries. So I note that for this question, it shows that Switzerland or Iceland could be an interesting area for storing data. But it's also more complex for us. So this is something we'll think about for the future. Because of course, every time we open a server, we need extra funding for it, and we need to make sure we can get some revenue out of hosting that server. Is the end-to-end encryption algorithm that CryptPad uses available to be implemented in other software? So our software, I mean, we use a lot of encryption algorithms that are standard. However, the CryptPad end-to-end encryption requires both client code and server code. So basically, the server code is receiving data and transmitting to other users. This is actually something we're thinking for the future, to build an API where you could use any CryptPad server and have an API that you could embed in another software to transmit data between the software in which you're embedding the software would be able to implement end-to-end encryption using CryptPad. So this is work we just started with the release. We started a while ago, and the first step was the release that we did yesterday, which allows to modularize some client code so that it can be reused outside of CryptPad. In the coming months, you will see an API coming up, which will allow to write some command line code using Node.js or in the browser that can interact with the CryptPad server. But you'll still need the CryptPad server because the end-to-end encryption requires a system to transmit the data. And that's what the CryptPad server does. But you could install a CryptPad server anywhere and use that client-side API to do end-to-end encryption sessions on data. What happens if a user forgets their password or encryption key? Is there any recovery mechanism, or the data is permanently lost? The answer, the data is permanently lost. We wouldn't be doing our job properly with end-to-end encryption if we were able to recover the data. The only thing that people can do is see if they have a cache and they can open the document on their computer based on the URLs they have on their computer. But if they cannot open the drive, they won't be able to find all the keys of every document, but they might be able to open one document. What we recommend is to really make sure to make a backup of the key in a secure space area. So, for example, a password storage application, and we're thinking about recovery schemes, which, for example, can involve that you share your key with two people, and that you can ask these two people to give you their part of the key, and then you would recover your key. So you could share half of your key with some of your friends, or a tenth of your key with 10 friends, and then be able to recover it. And this is a mechanism that could be put in place to make it very transparent in CryptPad, where you choose the people that you trust to hold part of your key, and this would allow some key recovery. And one of the users could be receiving a tenth of your key, could be the administrators of the instance, which potentially adds an additional level of security, because your friends might know each other and could decide together to gain access to your account. But if you add the administrator, then this cannot really happen anymore. So we're thinking about that. This is part of the features we'd like to develop in the future, especially useful in the enterprise sector. But we don't have this yet, and we're hoping to find also some funding for that. What's the technical knowledge, expertise required and associated the workload to maintain our own on-premise instance? Running a CryptPad server, the biggest difficulty is at the installation step. However, you do need to be a little bit of an admin, and the key point is also to back up your data. I mean, you don't need to be a cryptographic expert, but you need to be an admin of applications that knows what it's doing. That means that makes proper backups, and you need to follow the guides for the installation. I mean, I don't know exactly what your level of expertise would be in order to judge if that's enough. You can always ask us a question telling us what your level of expertise is, and then maybe we can tell you if that's sufficient. It makes sense to be a sysadmin to know what you're doing. But once you have data on your server, so the risk you have is losing the data because you didn't configure the system properly, or to haven't configured the CryptPad instance properly. So we have a script for that, which is called checkup. Actually, I can run it. I can run it on CryptPad FR to show it. So when you install an instance, you can actually run a test of your instance. That's going to verify. By the way, we have a small red block, but I suppose, I don't know if that's okay. Maybe we changed something in the latest version and the checkup is not up to date, David. But basically, it's detecting discrepancies in the configuration of the server. So that's actually a demo effect because there shouldn't have been anything red on this page. And so it allows to verify that your instance is configured in a secure way. This is something. So that's the first step that is important: the security of the instance. David, sorry.
Yeah, sorry. So I'm gonna feedback this to the engineers. We deployed a new version yesterday, so it could be due to that, the fact that some of our tests don't pass. But this isn't anything that would affect users, these two tests. But yes, I'm feeding that back.
Yeah, it shouldn't affect any security. It's just that it's more probable that it's test scripts that are not corresponding to the changes in the CryptPad software. Not all the tests are related to security. So if you get access to the document by using the link, isn't there a big risk that the link is leaked through HTTP refer header or by other means? So
I actually have the answer to this. Sorry, I put the answer to that in the chat earlier, so I can just repeat it. Basically, the ID of the document is in the URL after a hash character, and the refer header doesn't include that. So you would be able to see CryptPad.fr, for example, as a refer, but not the document ID. And we take also a lot of other measures. So for example, the link that you see when Ludovic is sharing his screen in the browser bar, copying this link would not give you access to the document if you don't have it already in your drive. So this is a measure that we took to prevent leaks from exactly this scenario, screen sharing, but also browsers that sync your history, for example. And things like this. So the link, we basically swap the link as soon as possible to a safe link, as we call them, which is different to the link that you would get in the share link menu. So we have this, and we protect also external links when we open them from CryptPad. So basically, to answer your question, yeah, there's a few measures in place to prevent these types of leaks, and document IDs shouldn't leak very easily.
Yeah, it's actually interesting to note that Google doesn't protect your links in this way. For example, it makes it very easy to give access to a Google user through a link. So if you have a public link, you copy paste it and you give it to somebody else. The problem is that so actually some of our users complain that our links cannot be copy pasted, but it's important for security that they cannot be. like that you need to go through the share link. And another important aspect here is that if you really, so it protects also your links from extension in your browser that could try to steal your data. So this is actually one of the risks, is extension in the browser. So if you're concerned about security, you should be very careful with extension in your browser, because they can see more things, what's going on in your browser, and they could read your links and things like that. And this is where it's also important to use the sharing through the CryptPad tool. So if you want more security, you should share through the CryptPad tool, and that doesn't make the URL show up, and so that increases the security of the sharing. But if you have extensions that try to steal your data, this is tricky, because it's important that your computer is secure. If your computer is not secure, there's not much we can do to protect your data if it's on your computer. So an additional secure password will always be required to make sure the document is secured. No, you don't need it, but because people don't know the URL, and you're sending the URLs from one person to another. So and you're sharing, if you're sharing through the CryptPad tool, the URLs won't leak. Like they cannot be accessed like that, or they cannot be found out like that. It's not possible. But a secure password is giving some additional security. If you protect a specific document with a password, if there is a URL with access to that document, you will need the password. Could CryptPad be used as an instant messenger inside an organization or company through the chat functionality? It is possible, but we haven't built the chat for this. We have built the chat to chat on documents. We have put the chat in the Teams because it was part of what we plan to do, but we don't consider that our chat feature is a sufficiently advanced solution compared to tools like Matrix or Signal. But it's possible. You can use the chat of a team inside a company. It is possible to directly share links, not via Signal, with users on other instances. So no, there is no cross-instance functionality with CryptPad. We've thought about it a lot, and we would be interested to do that type of things, but it's not that simple, and it creates a lot of complexity with because of versions. So you need to make sure that the instances are compatible in terms of technology if you evolve the technology. This is actually also a reason that a tool like Signal is not distributed. We think we are way too small to be able to tackle the challenge of distributed instance-to-instance communication. I'd be very much interested in how I can backup download a complete drive. I think we answered that one, and that we should do better with command line tools in the future. And
quick note on this.
Yeah.
There's actually improvements on this drive download in a new release. So previously we had quite a lot of issues with some document types that wouldn't download correctly and stuff. It is now working much more smoothly, and a lot of document types have been fixed. So I think even though, as Ludo said, it's not optimal, it is now much more viable to download your whole drive. But yeah, that doesn't take anything away from previous answers where we're going to try and improve this aspect in the future. Yeah,
for sure. It would be very interesting to have Delta downloads, because even for our servers, if people do downloads of 5 GB drives every 2 days, that's going to load our servers. So that's not very good for us for running the platform. How does CryptPad protect against brute force attacks and unauthorized access attempts? So first, we recommend MFA. If you have MFA, it's going to be very difficult for anybody to gain access to your system. The second thing is that the login mechanism of CryptPad is voluntarily slow in order to protect against brute force attacks. To generate, to actually try a username and password, this goes through an algorithm called encrypt, which is voluntarily slow to make it impossible to try millions of passwords. We still recommend that people use strong passwords that have what is called a high entropy. And if you use a password storage tool, you can test, you can have information about the strengths of your password and get a tool to generate your password. Other integration with identity provider like LDAP, SAML, or OAuth for enterprise authentication. As I mentioned in the presentation that we have SSO, we actually implement OpenID Connect and SAML. We don't implement LDAP, which is not really a single sign-on system, which is a login system. So note that in our implementation of SSO, it doesn't spare you to fill in your personal password, because this personal password is going to handle the encryption. The only thing that the SSO does is forcing the username to the username of your SSO and making it so that you cannot log in if you are not a member of the identity account management system. So it allows to limit creation of accounts to an SSO system. It allows to connect the data on a server to a specific account. So for example, it's also possible to delete the data of an account because we know which data corresponds to which account without being able to read the data. So that's something that the SSO system does. It's a plugin, so search for CryptPad SSO, or you can contact us if you'd like to have a discussion about the SSO system. If you'd like to sponsor additional features in the SSO, you're very welcome. How does CryptPad handle data deletion? If an employee leaves an organization, can their encrypted data be recovered or permanently erased? So that's actually what I just said about the SSO system. We also have an invitation system that allows to connect accounts to data sets. And there is also account IDs on the server, but this is more like something that you need a specialist for to connect the data with an account. So all the data that an account created is connected to his account. So we can know if we can delete the account and its data. Now, the risk you have is that if you delete all the data of a user that is that the user created, you might also delete data that other people had access to. It's ownership of the data that decides if some data should be deleted. Am I correct on this, David? For example, in the scripts we have on CryptPad A4 to handle the data to delete, or in the administration interface for the deleting
it's
data.
linked to ownership also. So when you delete your account, you can also delete all your own documents. So this can be tricky. I think as an organization using CryptPad, you have to think a bit about how you set up this structure, because it could be that an employee owns a document that is in your team drive, but then if they leave and delete all the documents they own and you didn't see that they are the only owners on that, they could delete important stuff by mistake. This is limited to where someone is the only owner. So if you manage, for example, what we would recommend is to use a team drive so that you can manage access and edit rights granularly, and also to make the team an owner of all the documents so that you have control over deletion, and in this case, prevent deletion from somebody leaving the team and deleting their account, for example. I think it depends on the kinds of policy that you want to have. then matching the different options available to those policies. But it's quite flexible, I believe, what CryptPad can offer.
David, can you actually answer on whether the ownership can be transferred? I think on the document is possible.
Yes. So one tricky case that we encounter quite a lot is that if you create a document without an owner, you cannot add it after the fact, because only owners can add other owners. So if there is no owner, it's a bit of a silly situation, but yes, this is something we're looking to address. But if you are the owner of a document, you can manage owners, so you can add other ones. You can even remove yourself. So transfer ownership, yes, it's possible. You can add another owner and remove yourself. So in effect, transferring ownership.
But there is no way for taking over ownership on documents you have access to. The only thing you can do is copy them, right? You would have to copy them, but because taking over ownership requires the other user.
So the thing here is all owners have the same level of power. So if someone else is an owner, they can kick you out. So this is one danger. But yes, once you know these subtleties, you can set up a structure that suits your needs.
I think more generally, if a user leaves, his own drive cannot be recovered unless he gives you his username and password. So, I mean, you should not consider that that his personal drive is enterprise data. From my point of view, this is why you need team drives. This is why you need team drives. The enterprise data is in the team drive. Otherwise, you need to ask the password in advance to the user and make sure you keep that password. And in that case, you don't really have fully end-to-end encryption. So that could also be handled by what's called key escrow, which means that you're forcing every user in an organization to share its key with the master, with the CEO or the head of IT, which is going to store that key but not use it, and that they will use it only if there is a problem or if they decide it should be used. You could also split that key between the CEO and somebody else. So that's something that could be interesting, but that doesn't exist today, and is something that could be useful for enterprises to manage that type of cases. But you have to balance the confidentiality and the security of recovering the data. And so, I mean, if you have opinions about that, we're also interested in. So I think this was our last question. So, I mean, thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed this webinar, and do not hesitate to also help us to make CryptPad known. The more people will know about CryptPad, the more we'll be able to also fund it and be able to develop it more. So thank you very much for attending the webinar. It will also be made available publicly. So thank you very much for all these questions. It will help other users understand what is going on. There was a last question about the options to fund CryptPad. Well, currently the main option is taking a subscription on CryptPad FR or making a donation on Open Collective. So we have a CryptPad page on Open Collective, and if for companies it's talking with us and potentially sponsoring features or taking CryptPad Cloud, which is a paying service, or a support contract. So if companies are interested in CryptPad instances, that could also help the funding if there are contracts with those companies. But for individual users, you have donations and subscriptions. For small organization, you also have subscriptions on CryptPad FR. Cryptocurrency is something that's not completely impossible, but by French law, we need a name and address to make an invoice, and we have an account on Kraken, so we can take cryptocurrency. But we need a name and address for invoicing, and so we we accept it if the amount is a bit significant, because otherwise it's become a lot of work for us. So if you're interested in making a sizable donation, you can always contact us and tell us how much you would like to give. And but we still have to take VAT based on the location of the users. So we cannot take money outside of invoices, because we're a registered company. We're not individual. Thank you very much for joining the webinar, and do not hesitate to create CryptPad accounts if you don't have any, and use the software and spread its usage. And especially forms, go ahead. If you have ever a form to do, it's always a good idea to do it with CryptPad. Thank you very much. Goodbye. Thank you, David, for helping on all the questions.
No problem. Bye, everyone. Thanks for coming.